High road with some real flows, ill flows kicking like steel toes. Watch as we reveal those.
Reveal those and peel those caps with raps. Perhaps you will never catch hieroglyphic slipping. We ripping what?
A+, Festo, Tajay, and Opio, along with Pep Love, Casual, Del, and Domino, aka Souls of Mischief, a hip-hop rap group active since 1991. To mention 90s hip-hop, rap groups, lyricism, freestyle, rap in general, and Oakland, California, somewhere in there you have to mention Souls of Mischief. To speak about classic hip-hop, or greatest songs ever for that matter, you have to also mention their classic 1993 cut from their debut of the same name, 93 Till Infinity. It's probably the most re-rapped on hip-hop beat of all time, and takes you back to one of the golden eras of hip-hop like none other. An era where originality, timeless instrumentation, flawless sampling, and wordplay from MCs delivering with character and just the right braggadocious confidence were some of the main ingredients to great hip-hop. Souls of Mischief wasn't your typical rap group or stunted growth story of a great fall from grace, as in one member became fed up and chose to go solo, or illegal activity leading to incarceration and the group falling apart, or drug addiction and other distractions at the time that you may say was the reason they fell off and didn't become who they were supposed to be. Their story is a quite simple one, of childhood friends growing up in the same area down the street from one another that were all inspired to become rappers at an early age, knew what they liked and wanted to present themselves as, and worked hard together crafting their rap group to become those things. Along with being self-sufficient and educated enough to do things like come into the game as one of the few artists at the time allowed to keep their publishing from the jump, make substantially more from their albums than others, and transition into independence when that wasn't the trendy thing to do. Their stunted growth story is a lot about the music business, especially at the time where you had to play ball with companies that often didn't fully understand your art and what made your fan base connect to what it is you do. They just wanted to make a deal with what's hot and fresh at the time, with the most potential to bring them more money and faster than their competition. Although from Oakland, California, the group were heavily inspired by East Coast hip-hop, which is evident in their sound and the way they carried themselves back then, making them stand out even more. Classic hip-hop group that didn't become household names and faces remembered for their success like some thought they should have, and here's why. Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth Music. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. You can also send a super thanks by clicking the button below. Enjoy the video.
I rip factions into fractions. I love the interaction. I'm into smashing. I'm international.
Souls of Mischief's A+, Tajay, and Hieroglyphics member Casual, along with Del of the Lynch Mob, all grew up in the same neighborhood and would meet each other to battle and showcase their new rhymes they wrote the night before. By 13, they were taking trips with Del to LA to record demos with Del's cousin Ice Cube and get their first taste of how full songs were put together. Growing up in a melting pot of music like Oakland, California, their sound was heavily influenced by Run DMC, LL Cool J, of course Too Short, and even Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. Tajay introduces the group to Festo D, a rapper he went to school with in junior high, and Casual brings his friend Opio around that also lived on the block, but because he moved there a little later and went to a different school, they didn't know he shared their same passion for rap until they were all brought together. They decided to form a group initially known as the Mad Circle before Dub C and crew picked up the name and eventually settled on Souls of Mischief. By 16, they were making music together and already fielding bids to sign them as a group. They decided on Jive Records because they were a major label equipped to push their music to the masses, and because they allowed them to keep full publishing, which was shocking back in those days. Stunt number 1, to crossover or not to crossover.
I cut my dreadlocks off, but I never went soft. Hieroglyphic souls of mischief, the cloth on vinyl. Weak MCs, we snap your spinal cord in half.
Signing to Jive Records was the right move for Souls of Mischief. They were major, like mentioned, and offered the best deal for their services. Where things went left is when the label began requesting the group make more commercial records like Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, informing them they were now going in a pop direction and only keeping certain urban acts that agreed to commercialize their sound. This came after they released their classic hip-hop debut that redefined lyrical technique for Oakland according to AllMusic, 93 Till Infinity, that came out in 1993. It peaked at 85 on the Billboard 200 and 17th on the hip-hop album charts. The album didn't achieve great commercial success as far as sales and being as popular as other West Coast albums out at the time, but certainly solidified Souls of Mischief's fan base and stamped them as one of the best hip-hop groups out on either coast. Maybe if their album did perform better on the charts or sold a bit more records, Jive wouldn't have asked them to cross over or change anything they were doing. In 1994, the group begins and finishes their second album and were ready to release it, but as a finished product not including the crossover, radio-friendly hits Jive ordered, they shelved the album until 1995 after the group had been requesting they be released because of creative differences. Jive threatened to ruin the group's career should they leave the label, all in the middle of their second album being released with no promotion. Later that year, they were released from Jive. Stunt number 2, No Man's Land.
They can't do us.
They can't do us, pursue us like hoppers, but you know we dropped the new style. Get wild like the style in the 88 movie, weak MCs pursue me.
A term that basically means existing in the middle of nowhere. This must have been how the Souls felt when they couldn't come to creative terms with Jive, leading to their release from the label, like where do we go from here? Although they did find their way independently from then on, forming the label Hieroglyphics Imperium with the hieroglyphics, they didn't release another album until 1998, one that received 2 stars from hip-hop blog AllMusic, was produced all independently and released for the first time as a group only through their website and cassette. Their only album that didn't chart on any music charts. Souls of Mischief was caught in an unfortunate circumstance having went the Jive direction, where growth stunts all could have been avoided had the label understood what really made hip-hop fans attract to the group. Since leaving and having to produce their art on a smaller scale, now doing everything in-house, they lost the commercial success that gives music artists longevity even after their time has passed. Which is why some that forget about Souls of Mischief assume they fell off. Musically, their albums after 93 Till Infinity weren't as hungry and polished and didn't produce more timeless hits like While on a Major, and it left the group in a place where they were passed over as a classic group past their prime and comfortably in no man's land underground. They released 3 more albums in 2000, 2009, and 2014, of which was top 20 on the hip-hop charts. And finally, I'd say there was no third growth stunt for the Souls of Mischief. Yeah, you could say, well, they didn't sell enough records to make themselves a priority at Jive, but to me, that falls more on the label than them. They produced a classic hip-hop album with a song that is up there for most consistently good rap song of all time. You could play 93 Till Infinity in any era and it'll still be a great hip-hop song that perfectly represents hip-hop and how it was in those times. If a label couldn't turn that record along with that song into multi-platinum success and at least one more successful follow-up album release, then that label dropped the ball. For any artist that loses a machine like a major label, moving forward will always be tough and expected not to yield the same results. But at least they were able to stay together and still make music and albums that people enjoy, which is the point of it all at the end of the day. They were a group of good suburban kids, all educated and of good character, and created a new lane for rap in the Bay Area. They made a classic song, if not more, and a classic hip-hop album that most rappers never do in their careers. All in all, yes, they could have been bigger as a group and had the talent to lead an interesting charge of lyrical rappers from Oakland. But due to politics and a good turned bad label situation, their potential was cut short, and because of these reasons, their growth was stunted. Salute, much respect. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music, and I'm out.